Mitchell Robertson introduced us to Neil Kennedy in Half Man, but Jamie Bell's performance puts a bow on the tragic character. Told across several decades, Richard Gadd's Half Man follows the story of brothers from another lover, Neil, Robertson and Bell, and Reuben, Stuart Campbell and Gadd, and their ill-fated relationship. Dealing in themes of masculinity, repression, and complex family dynamics, Half Man is told through a fractured timeline, with the series flashing back from Neil's wedding to Albie, Charlie DeMello, one of Reuben's former victims, to their rough upbringing and rocky adulthood. This all culminates in a brutal confrontation between Neil and Reuben, who reunite after the latter is released from prison. In a physical showdown, Reuben suffocates Neil, but not before the latter stabs his brother in the side. Reuben was revealed to be dead in episode 4 of the series, but Neil also succumbing to his brother's wrath was a shocking ending to what has often been a bleak series. Screen Rant caught up with Robertson to discuss Neil's journey across the show's 6 episodes, including how Neil's story in the last 3 episodes changed his perception of the character and what that ending and the show overall means to him. Screen Rant, the reception to Half Man has been nothing short of remarkable. What has that been like to experience on this level? Mitchell Robertson, it's been really nice. I've had people reach out on Instagram and I've been seeing things online. I told myself I wouldn't really look at the comments when it came out, but being in a show that's so worldwide and so highly anticipated, it's actually kind of impossible to stay away from it because your curiosity gets the better of you. But the reception's been great, and it's been a little bit overwhelming at times just keeping up with the volume of stuff, especially when you're getting messages from people that you don't know that have watched the show. I think the first couple I responded to because I was like, no, I really want to respond to everyone who reaches out because if someone's taking the time to send something. And then I quickly realized that actually I can't do that and also have peace and balance in my life because there's just so many, it just gets really overwhelming really quickly. Especially for such a heavy show too, I'm sure that kind of response has been refreshing. Robertson, yeah. I think what's been nice as well is people have really taken to what I think we were hoping for, which was this relationship between Neil and Reuben, that is really tricky. But at times you maybe don't want them to be in each other's lives, but also you're kind of slightly obsessed with the idea of them staying in each other's lives. And I think that was what we were kind of reaching for a little bit, and I've noticed that online, which has been really good. That dynamic is so interesting in driving the show and episode 3, in particular. You're handing the baton off to Jamie, Bell, and Richard, Gadd, after episode 3. So I was curious, on a certain level, what was that like to handle as a performer, and what did you learn maybe about yourself as an actor in dealing with that sort of transition and watching the characters grow in that way? Robertson, I did truly learn a lot about just me as a person. I've said this in a couple of interviews, but when you're playing a character that has so much internal conflict, like the characters that Richard writes, I found myself, when the show finished, I was really reflective on my own life and where I was hiding or what I was shameful of or what patterns I was in or what I was going back to that wasn't good for me. So it changed me a lot as a person, and I'm still on that journey a little bit, to be honest. As an actor, how did it change me? What did I learn? It's interesting because when you're doing something like this, I was on it every day for about 2.5 months, and you're doing multiple scenes a day, so you really are learning every single day. And I think I did come out of it a better performer overall, and I think it would just have been a case of picking up a lot of different small things throughout the process without even realizing actually what I was really picking up. I learned a lot from Alex Brodsky, as well, our director. She's got a really great instinct for what feels good and what doesn't, what feels truthful and what maybe doesn't or what's interesting. I feel like Alex was always kind of looking for what was interesting, which I've actually taken away. That's something that changed me since working on this. Instead of looking for what I think is good, I look for maybe things that are interesting or that feel like it's something that's worth going a little bit deeper into. But I kind of love how they left episode 3 though. I love the way that it leaves us. We actually shot a scene that was maybe going to come after the court scene that maybe gave a small tinge of closure to that kind of period. And I actually love that it's not there, because it's almost like you leave us in this really intense moment, which is better than having a sense of small closure. There's a line that Joanna says in episode 3 that really stood out to me and I think kind of reverberates through the rest of the series. Snakes can shed their skin, but they always crawl on their bellies. In this show, there's often this lingering question of Neil and Reuben actively disrupting each other's growth. So I was curious, on a thematic level, what do you think the show is trying to say about the capacity for change in these two men, but also in people in general? Robertson, I feel like with all of Richard's work, what I really love about it is that no character he ever writes is either good or bad, And he's always kind of exploring this idea that we're all capable of being self-destructive or making mistakes, and to be human is to make mistakes, obviously. This is going to be one of those questions that I bet you in 3 days' time in the shower I'm like, oh, because it'll subconsciously linger in me. The truth is I don't know. I really don't know. And that's why it's so hard to take your eyes away from, because you are totally in it with them, that need that they have for each other and that kind of codependency that they have, but would they be? Yeah, I feel like, maybe. Maybe if they weren't in each other's lives, things would have been a lot